Howdy folks, I'm Driven Dogs Mercury, desirously drooling over delicious delicacies.
I'm Amber.
And here are more delicious delicacies for us to drool over, like Reddit stories. How tasty. Yum. Let's get started. And folks, there is a live stream coming up tomorrow. We hope to see you then. For more details, see the end of the video. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not participating in my trip with my daughter, and instead went to pick up medicine for my sons? I'm a 40-year-old male, and my daughter, a 16-year-old female, we never really had the strongest bond ever since I divorced her mother when she was 4. She and I argued, and when she was 14, I married my now wife. She's wonderful, and I couldn't choose anyone else. We had 2 sons who I love very much as well. My daughter recently opened up to me about feeling neglected and sad, and begged for me to take her to this beach house that we used to go to when she was younger, with my ex-wife. I agreed, but I was hesitant when she asked for it to just be the 2 of us. My wife let me go, promising that she and the kids would be okay, so I went. We had fun, my daughter and I. It seemed that things were going well until the second day, when my wife called me to tell me that the sons had gotten sick and that she couldn't leave them be. The beach house that we were at wasn't too far away from the house, so I offered to buy and drop off the medicine. I told my daughter this, but she really didn't want me to leave, especially after hearing me say that I wanted to stay at home. She said that she understood my worry, but was sad that we didn't get to do everything that she had planned. It turned into another big argument. She begged for us to come back after dropping it off, and I got mad and I told her, this isn't about you. One of my sons is sick and he needs medicine. I yelled for her to stay in the beach house, and she did. And then I went off to buy the medicine and drop it off. When I came back home, my wife asked me where our daughter was. I bitterly replied what had happened, and she stared at me sadly. Of course, I came back and I picked her up and I packed up, but she refused to talk to me. I don't think that I'm in the wrong here, but my wife told me that my daughter had really been looking forward to the trip. She feels bad for ruining things, but I keep telling her she didn't. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think OP's the jerk here. Now, there is some important context. OP's comments have been deleted. So in the comments, it kind of came up that essentially anytime he tries to do something with just the daughter, his wife always finds some emergency. And so if the kids are sick and need medicine, one, is there not any delivery option in their town? Or is there not another friend that could have picked it up? Why did OP have to stay home afterward? Like, it just seems like he is really prioritizing his new wife and his sons and letting his daughter fall by the wayside. And it sounds like his new wife is actively trying to push his daughter out of the picture.
Yeah, I would like to know some details here, and a lot of more information would be really good to know. Like, is this a situation where, if this is happening all the time, then why is the wife interrupting these father-daughter type things, right? Is this just coincidental, or is it actively she's trying to work against the relationship between the 2 of them? And I also wonder why the kids, how sick were the kids? Like, certainly if the kids are actually sick, I can't blame OP for wanting to come home and take care of his children, right? Like,
Right.
that's not a terrible thing, but he should also work towards making sure that in the future he has a block of time to spend time with his daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difficult situation. There are, of course, competing interests here. I can't blame him for wanting to take care of his child who's sick or helping with that, but it depends. Like, if this was a cold, then I mean, yeah, you went way overboard. If this is like he needed an appendix removed, and suddenly now he needs to be there while the kid recovers, that's a little bit of a different situation, right?
Right. And my guess, I mean, again, the comments have unfortunately been deleted, but it seems like it was more on the cold end of things than on an actual medical emergency.
Yeah, so if it's just a cold, then OP was in the wrong. Like, it doesn't take 2 adults to care for a child with a cold, right? But if this was like a flu or, a severe illness or something like that, maybe that's a little more understandable. And if it was a medical emergency, then completely understandable, right?
Right. Well, I think the bigger issue here, like this is just the one situation, a much bigger picture, is that there seems to be a consistent trend of OP prioritizing his new wife and his new kids over his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like his wife is probably intentionally trying to push her out of the picture.
Yeah.
And, by doing this, OP just reinforces her feelings of neglect. It's very important for people, like, when they merge families, to still have times with their, like, just with dad and daughter time. And his whole, oh, I was hesitant to spend it just the two of us. It's really important to have that time.
Yeah. Well, let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Daughter That She Can Go Get Her Food Herself? I have two kids, a 16-year-old male and a 12-year-old female, and they share a room. A few days ago, they both got sick. My son was very sick and was too weak to move, and he was burning a fever. I was sitting next to him the entire time, talking to him, putting fruit in his mouth, spoon-feeding him some soup, and trying to make the fever go down. My daughter, who was sleeping across the room from him, asked if she could have some fruit and soup as well, and I told her that they are both in the fridge and that she can go get some for herself. She started to nag, saying that her body hurts and that she can't move, but she was fine and her fever wasn't that high. My son needed me more, and she was perfectly capable of getting food for herself, so I said, no, you have to do it yourself, which she eventually did. Now my husband is mad at me and thinks that I'm a jerk. Alright folks, what do you think?
Yes, major jerk. There's some very clear favoritism going on here. Now, they both were running fevers. They both were very sick. It may not have been exact same temperature degree, but your son would have been okay solo for a few minutes for you to go cook some soup and heat up some soup and get some fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like this is one of those situations where the daughter is actually being neglected over the son, right? And if you're going to treat your one kid like this, you need to treat your other kid like this, right?
Right. It seems like a very, very obvious case of favoritism. Like, even when people are very sick, they a lot of times will not need to be spoon fed. Like, he's probably at a point where, like, if he's so sick he can't feed himself, you might need to take him to a doctor. You shouldn't have to be at his bedside all the time, spoon feeding him and putting fruit in his mouth and whatnot.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, I am an 18-year-old female and my boyfriend, an 18-year-old male, is upset because he says that I'm using my allergy to manipulate him, and that's why I won't have intimate time with him. How do I deal with this? And if I am, how do I stop? I have a latex allergy, and I've known about it since I was 14 years old. This is why I'm allergic to certain foods, because my body reacts in the same way. Foods such as bananas, passion fruits, mangoes, tomatoes, avocados, kiwis cause me to have itchy lips, sore throat, and rashes. I also have to watch out for things like balloons, gloves, rubber bands, and the like. When I touch them, I get an itchy rash on my hands that takes a long time for it to go away, and it burns. I recently went to a doctor and she told me that I also need to be careful with using certain types of contraceptive and that I'm more likely to have a reaction to ones that contain latex, which is not surprising. Of course, I don't know what this reaction will be, but I think that it will be very unpleasant. I've been with my boyfriend for almost a year, and recently he was very interested in being intimate with me. But I don't feel it yet. I understand why he feels that way, but I don't. I told him about my allergy and used it as a reason not to want to have intimate time with him, because I didn't want to cause a reaction. But I also didn't want to not use them because of pregnancy and stuff like that. It bothered him a little, but he was still very nice to me and nothing changed that much, and I don't think that it was a big deal to him. I just don't want to do something like that right now because it doesn't feel right to me yet. Although, I don't know why, it does scare me a bit. Recently, I was with my boyfriend and I ate at his house. I noticed that after I ate, my face felt really hot and other things that I feel when I eat something that I'm allergic to. I asked him if there was anything in there that I would be allergic to, and he said he didn't know. It turns out there were tomatoes in it. I was a little upset that he put something in there that he knew I was allergic to, but I told him that it was okay and that he had forgotten about this, but I needed him to remember next time. But then he said something just that I was overreacting a bit and that I'm not even in anaphylactic. I asked him what he meant, and that just because I wasn't, it still was an unpleasant experience for me. He then said that I acted like I would die if I was intimate with him. But really, I was just lying, and that I should have just said that I didn't love him, which isn't true. I do love him. I wasn't trying to trick him, I just really don't want to. He said that I was manipulating him, and now he really knows, and that I need to sort out my priorities if I don't love him, and just to say so. I'm a bit confused. I wasn't trying to trick him about anything. At least I didn't mean to. I feel like I did a bad thing. I don't really know what to do. Something just feels wrong about the situation, and what he did doesn't seem right, the way he reacted. Although I can be a bit emotional sometimes, so I might just be letting that affect me too much. Alright, folks, what do you think?
OP, this is not a healthy relationship. He is being very manipulative. If someone tries to poison you, that is the right time to end that relationship. Like, even if he hadn't poisoned you, he's still being manipulative with his whole, well, if you love me, you would do this for me.
Yeah.
Someone who tries to coerce you into doing something you're not comfortable with by pulling the, well, if you loved me, you would line. That's not a good person.
No, no. I mean, I think that this is showing a lot of immaturity on his part. I also think that OP shouldn't be forced to do something that they just don't want to do, right? And I think that OP should reflect that if they're not wanting to tell them the real reasons why they don't want to be intimate with him, maybe that shows a deeper problem, a deeper chasm in the relationship than what OP is willing to actually admit to themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly. Very good point right there. You know, if OP cannot be open and honest with him because she's afraid of his reaction, then that's a sign that you are not in a relationship, the right relationship for you.
Yeah.
You should be able to communicate your fears open and honestly without fear of, you know, this sort of reaction. I mean, again, he poisoned you. He did not know the outcome of this reaction. He could have killed OP for all he knew.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the way he was talking about it, he was acting like, oh, he's surprised that she didn't go into anaphylactics, right? So maybe this isn't the right relationship for OP, and by maybe I mean I would say OP should really deeply consider this relationship. I know that they, love this individual, but sometimes you have to put those feelings aside when somebody's actively trying to hurt you, right?
Yeah,
So.
like what was he going to do if you went into anaphylaxis? Did he have a plan for that?
I mean, even if he had a plan for that,
well, I mean, I guess
best laid plans can go wrong when you're choking to death.
And you shouldn't put someone into anaphylaxis in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, I can't fathom this man's. He was just so one track mind that he's like, I'm okay potentially killing my girlfriend so I can figure out how serious her allergy is.
Yeah. And then one last kind of comment here is that there are forms of protection that are not latex based. And so if that is ever a concern for OP in the future, there are alternatives. And I think that's important for people to know. But OP shouldn't be, forced into being intimate with a person who she's just not comfortable with being intimate right now. So I think that's the bigger point here. And OP just needs to be open and honest too about their reasoning. And if they're afraid of being open and honest, then you probably should reflect and really consider that not a good relationship, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Giving Away My Dad and Sister's Tickets to My Graduation Ceremony and Telling Them Not to Bother Showing Up? I'm an 18-year-old female, and I have my high school graduation ceremony this Wednesday. It was sent to my parents in an email that I would be giving a speech that day as my grades made me valedictorian of my school's class 2024, and I was excited to do so. My school made us reserve and buy tickets to the ceremony weeks in advance, and I picked up mine on the 26th. The problem started at dinner when I told my family that I picked up the tickets for graduation day and that I would keep them with me until the day of, just to make sure that they don't get lost. My dad told me that he and my sister had plans for an hour before the ceremony, but that my mom would be there the whole time and that he would try to be there for the after party. I was honestly shocked for a moment before starting to laugh, assuming they weren't serious. When I realized that they actually weren't joking, I'll admit that I was a bit mad. I'm usually very shy and non-confrontational, even around family, but I started yelling at my dad and sister, asking if they were seriously ditching my graduation ceremony. I told them that the after party was useless to attend, and that all of the pictures of the graduates with their families would be taken at least 2 hours before the ceremony. They said it's fine and that we can take our own pictures the day after graduation, but I got up and left dinner. Over the weekend, I saw a few people on my class group chat complain that they didn't get enough tickets. So I offered up 2 tickets that I had and met up with a girl from my class and gave them to her. And even though I told her not to, she actually paid me the original price for them. When the topic of graduation was brought up by my dad today at lunch, I told him that I gave away the other 2 tickets and only my mom will be attending. So they shouldn't even bother with the after party. He got mad and asked why I would do that, to which I replied that I don't see the point in wasting money on tickets if they're not going to be using them. My dad blew up on me, saying that I'm acting like a spoiled brat, and it's not like I'll die if he and my sister are a bit late to my graduation. I spoke to a few people about it, and my friends and my grandma. My friends said good riddance, and if they consider their plans more important, they can have fun. But my grandma said that while she understands my side, I shouldn't have given away my tickets just to spite my dad, because maybe he would have changed his mind and gone on time. So I'm looking for a non-biased opinion. Edit for info. The plans that my dad and sister have is some sleepover with her and her friends group in the north, around 2 hour drive from where we live. The parents didn't want to leave a bunch of underage 16-year-old girls together for that long, so everyone's parents are all going for supervision, apart from my mom, who is going to be at my graduation. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk in the least bit. What the dad is proposing here is completely unacceptable. I understand the sister really wanted to go to a sleepover, but sleepovers can happen at many different times. Your sister being valedictorian and giving a speech is a once-in-a-lifetime event. And so I think the dad handled it completely inappropriately. He should have reconsidered. He should have talked about having the sister leave the sleepover early so that they could then attend the graduation. But the way he handled it is just really bad, and I hope he was well within her right to give the tickets to someone who would actually use them.
Yeah, well, I think that that's actually a really good question. It's like, why couldn't they leave the sleepover early? Because it's a 2 hour drive, right? So that means that they could have still probably just gotten up super early and then left out early and then gotten back to OP's graduation on time. So
Right.
it seems like there's nothing here because the sleepover would have happened overnight, right? The sleepover part.
Yeah, and so like I don't know what time OP's graduation was, but a lot of graduation ceremonies are in the afternoon. So maybe they would have had to leave, in the morning, but it's not that big a deal to leave a sleepover a few hours for a one-time event.
Yeah.
To support someone you're supposed to love.
Yeah. So I understand OP's frustration. I think that OP may have been a little premature with selling the tickets because, like the grandparents said, there was still a chance that he might come around.
I don't know. I'm wondering if it sounds like a golden child situation, either that or he just really doesn't like graduations. But, and so if it's a consistent pattern of behavior and the dad doesn't seem like Okami can tell when her dad is set, then I don't think, I would trust her judgment.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it might have been premature. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in their shoes. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why did the leopard have a lousy vacation?
Well, because he was hard to spot with all the spots.
He couldn't find the right spot, so you're on the right track.
I was on the right track. I did not do a very good job of it. And I have licorice spice. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, we have a live stream tomorrow. We hope to see you then. Make sure to check your time zone and make sure everything's right. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it on playing favorites.
Don't.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to kids, don't play favorites with your kids.
Yeah, I mean, you can play favorites with your plans, but don't play favorites with your kids.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!